Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Quantum Sparks class on leveraging time, mastering the clock, not racing it. Today is not just another class about time management. Today, we're going to talk about shifting your entire relationship with time, a relationship that for most people has become rushed, guilt-ridden, and reactive. What if time were something that can't be managed? What if it's something that instead you have to align with? What if it's not the enemy that you're always chasing, but it's a powerful ally just waiting to be understood? Today's class is about creating a radically new dynamic with the hours, the days, and the years of your life. One that doesn't ask you to run faster, but asks you instead to rise higher. Today is about stopping the process of trying to outrun the clock, and instead, you're going to become its master. We're going to explore how to leverage time instead of trading it for every dollar. We're going to talk about slowing down time through presence and intentionality. We're going to talk about buying back time by making smarter decisions about debt and income. And we'll discuss unhooking from inherited beliefs about hustle, urgency, and scarcity. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to live in a way where your time becomes your own again. Because when your relationship with time changes, everything changes: your peace, your money, your energy, and your purpose. Let this class be the moment that you stop measuring your worth by how busy you are. Let it be the beginning of a life where you create more, enjoy more, and live more, not by racing time, but by rising above it. Before we get started, we want to remind you that knowledge is only potential. Knowledge is not power, it's the potential power. So make sure you take some notes, write down everything that we're about to cover. Today's quote we're going to start with is, "Time is a created thing." To say, "I don't have time," is to simply say, "I don't want to." So time is interesting because it is a great equalizer. It is the one resource that we all have. Everyone gets 24 hours in a day. What separates those who are overwhelmed from those who are unstoppable is time leverage. It is not simply time management. The goal isn't to move faster, but to move with greater intention, where time becomes a launch pad for a life well lived and a life used wisely. Time is not a liar, and your calendar is a reflection of what matters most to you, or at least what you've unconsciously allowed to matter most to you. If you change your time, you change your life. Each hour, think of each hour as a container, and what you fill it with creates the experience of your life. Treat your time like a sacred space instead of creating it like leftover space. Stop waiting for the right time to begin things. Happiness, purpose, and excellence are choices made every day. These are not destinations that you're looking to get to. The fastest way to lose time is to put everything in the future. I can't wait for this to happen. I can't wait to have this or to be here. It's wishing away your future. Don't be so busy building a future that you forget to live in the present. Time invested in relationships ends up yielding exponential returns. And it helps you avoid regret. Regret turns yesterday into a ghost town and tomorrow into a burden. Let it be a brief teacher, not a permanent tenant. How do you prevent future regret? So, one of the keys to living a wholesome life, one that you're proud to reflect back on 30 years, 60 years, 100 years from now, is to live it so intentionally that you regret nothing. Consider the long-term impact of each choice you make so that you can prevent future regret. If you think about how time goes, we'll talk in a minute about flow, that when you're doing the stuff you love, time flies by. And there's a benefit to that, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what about when time goes slow? Typically, time moves the slowest, or at least seems to move the slowest, when we are confronted with things we don't love to do, the unpleasant or the difficult tasks. Those are the items that slow our perception of time. What if we looked at those moments as a gift? So throughout life, we have the times of flow, the things that we love to do, where times basically moves so fast we don't even realize it's moving because we're in flow. But what if we also found the gift in the things that move slowly, the things that we don't love to do, and realizing that the gift that is offered during those times is the gift of time slowing down. There is power in the slog, the stuff we don't love to do. Embrace that slow grind. Maybe it's workouts or learning something new or using technology that you don't understand, or maybe it's having difficult conversations. The great thing about the slog is not only does time go so slow, or at least we have a perception that it moves so slow, but also during those times, there's typically great transformation because we're getting used to something that we don't love to do. The opposite end of that is the flow. Flow is where time just disappears because our fulfillment of what we're doing, the stuff we love to do, it replaces time. This is when we're in full alignment. We are in presence and purpose. We love what we're doing, so everything just flows. How do we get more of those? So the balance when it comes to living intentionally or managing time intentionally, leveraging time, is that on the things that we don't love to do, that we stop for a moment and appreciate the slowness of the time. And then when we are in flow, that time disappears, that we find ways to create blocks within our calendar and schedules to have more of that uninterrupted creative time, because that is when we produce our best work. That is when we are doing what we love the most. Time flies because we are truly engaged in the moment. Another way to think about time is to think about rest. And this is a piece that often gets overlooked, especially in busy careers where we're constantly just staying busy. Thinking about rest differently. In the careers that we have, often there's guilt wrapped around the rest. In other words, we work, work, work because we feel there's purpose in being busy. Yet there's also purpose in the rest, because that is where our leverage comes from. That is where we get the energy to do the stuff we love. Rest is not laziness, it is leverage. Rest, sleep, solitude, all of these regenerate energy and create clarity. So when we're moving, when we're doing the stuff we love, we can do so feeling good. But don't allow your rest to be jaded by guilt, thinking I should be doing something. I should be making phone calls. I should be doing this. When I was training for my first marathon, I've run a couple of marathons. When I was training for my first marathon, I made a rash decision that I was going to run a marathon. And so I just started. I have a tremendous willpower when I say I'm going to do something to just stick with it. And so I started running 5 miles a day, then I got to 10 miles, then I got to 18 miles a day, because I had read somewhere that if you can run 18 miles a day, then you can get to 26 miles for a marathon. And I remember going out every day once I was about 3 weeks into my training, running 18 miles a day. And I ended up not actually running the first marathon that I had signed up with because I got injured from running 18 miles a day. And when I started studying the process of training for a marathon, I began to understand the power of rest. And I realized that I was actually hurting myself by going out every day running 18 miles without mapping rest into my training. And to me, when I first started training, rest was a weakness. Like, rest was, I felt guilty if I rested or took a day off because I felt like I had to do the 18 miles. What I realized when I finally did my first marathon is that what allowed me to do the marathon was understanding how rest interplayed into my training schedule. It is no different with the careers that we have. While oftentimes we put great value on the busyness of the work we do, oftentimes it is the rest where we have the greatest growth, where we can think and let the universe speak to us. So rest with purpose and not guilt. In fact, create rest rituals into your schedules, daily wind down routines, nature walks, meditation, because this is where you create fertile ground for ideas and well-being. This is where you grow. Just like I learned when I was training for my marathon, this is when my muscles would grow and repair, was during the rest. It is also true in our businesses and our lives. Let's talk for money for a moment, because money and time are tied together. We're going to talk about best practices for working with time and money together to create the life that you deserve. Number one, one of the most important principles, and we're going to talk about a few of them, is how to pay time forward. What's interesting about the businesses that we're in is that we are heavily tied together with the mortgage industry. And as you guys know, when it comes to mortgages, the way a mortgage payment is made, very little, a tiny little speck of the payment actually goes towards principal in the beginning years of a mortgage. Mortgages are completely front loaded with interest. So in order to best utilize time in our favor when it comes to a mortgage is to pay something extra every month. Any little bit extra is buying future time. We're going to get into this a little bit more. But time and money go hand in hand. Every financial decision that you make is a time decision in disguise. The truth about debt. One of the things that often gets lost in translation is that when debt is taken on, it creates indenture. When you borrow money, you're borrowing from future time. So every loan that you take, whether it's a car loan or borrowing on a credit card, Every loan comes with a silent contract. And that contract says you will spend hours of your life repaying this. And the deeper the debt, the less control you have over your calendar. So think about this, because oftentimes when money is borrowed, the last thing somebody's thinking about is their calendar. But our calendars are our scorecard of time. And remember that every time you take debt, you have created a contract. You will spend hours of your life repaying it. When you're in debt, your choices shrink because no longer is time fully yours. So the more bills you have, the more hours that you must trade for dollars. This means that you have fewer opportunities to pursue freedom as you wish it for each day of your life. So debt is a trap. But it's possible to break the chain. You can buy time back. How are the ways that you can buy time back? Well, first, passive income. So rental properties, dividends, royalties. This is the wonderful thing about rental properties and investment properties is the passive income. It's the income that can be made that isn't tied to the hours of your day. Any type of scalable income, online products, licensing, digital courses, portfolio income, investments that grow while you sleep. But of course, I'm biased, and my favorite is rental properties and investment properties. Because when you must work to pay back debt, and to a certain extent, all of us are going to have debt no matter what. Just to live daily, we must work. So a certain percentage of our time is already indentured just for our daily living expenses. The more debt you take, the more time that you have indentured, unless you can break the chain by having passive income, income that is coming to you regardless of whether you're putting any hours into it or there's a minimal output of hours. So think about this. If you have a net rental profit, say you buy an investment property and you have a net rental profit and of $1,000 a month, that's basically 33 hours a month of saved labor. So that's assuming a $30 an hour pay. But that ongoing income, it keeps coming to you even while traveling, whether you're sleeping, whether you're resting. The asset grows in value as well as you pay to own it. So think about this freedom equation. Don't just work for money, make the money work for time. So freedom is income divided by the time required to earn it. So when you think about income and time, when you're looking at things that you can invest in, there are 4 different quadrants that you can choose from. There's high income and high time. That means that there are jobs you can take that will pay you really well, but it's going to take a great deal of your time. The downside to that is you may experience burnout. You also have jobs that are high income, but low time. So for example, passive investment like investment properties. That creates leverage for you. You then have low income and high time. That means that you're not making very much, but it's taking up a great deal of your time. That's almost like enslavement. And then low income and low time. That's living in survival. Where you want to be is high income, low time, passive income. Financial leverage equals time leverage. Time and money are intertwined. So small financial decisions now can free years of future time. Think of yourself as a time investor. So when investing in something or buying something, ask, does this cost me time or is it buying me time? And then look at your income streams by how much of your day that they consume. Wealth is not measured in dollars, it's measured in free hours. Another piece to think about as we move off of time and money, another paradigm that many get stuck in when it comes to time is the trap of urgent versus important. Stop reacting to things that are urgent and instead respond to the things that are important. You can create time leverage by understanding the shift. Everything that is urgent is not important. So don't react to everything that seems urgent. First, determine if it's important and then react. I didn't print this out for you, but if you Google the Eisenhower matrix, it's a tool that helps you divide your daily tasks into urgent/important or important, not urgent, so that you can prioritize accordingly. Don't be the person that responds to everything as if it's urgent. It's really not urgent if it's not important. Think about opportunity costs when it comes to time. In other words, every yes is a no to something else. Make decisions with that awareness. So when you say yes to something, an invitation, an event that you're going to, remember that it is also a no to something else. Maybe it's a no to having dinner with your family or no to working on something that needs to get done within your business. Say no to low value invites so that you can make space for what really matters. We've talked about this in past Quantum Sparks classes because it's very easy to justify when we get invitations in our business. It's very easy to say yes to all kinds of opportunities. But one of the things you start to realize as you get a little bit older is you realize the importance of time, and you understand that saying no to low value invitations to things that are not going to move the bar for you in your professional or personal life allows time for the things that matter most. It's interesting to think about, why do people give up their time so easily? Oftentimes we give up our time, we take the invitation, we say yes to things in order to avoid conflict or to please others, or because we simply undervalue our own priorities. Think about, before you say yes to something, think about what your personal priorities are. Time is often traded too quickly for validation, for approval, or simply habit. That is so true in our business, because when you're first getting into the business, you have to get out, meet people. So you say yes to everything. But once you're in the business for a while, it's not necessary to say yes to everything. You can become really good at saying no. And by the way, it doesn't mean you have to be mean. Write a list of how to say it, so when the invitation comes in, it's an easy no for you. Be clear and don't be defensive. So you could say, thank you, but I have other priorities right now. Or you can offer an alternative. I can't do this, but here's what I can offer. Trust your boundaries. Remember that saying no ends up protecting what matters to you. And most importantly, just practice. For many of us, it's hard to say no, and it does take practice. So write down the things that are easy for you to say, like, I love that you thought of me, but I have to pass at this time. Or I'm flattered, but I don't have the bandwidth right at the moment to do this. Or I have to sit this one out, but thank you for thinking of me. Time mirrors energy. So time feels different based on energy. So think about that as you are planning your calendar. Exhaustion shrinks time. Alignment expands time. So when you're working on your schedule for each week, maybe on Sundays you spend a few minutes looking at your schedule, energy map your day. Track your energy levels, align creative tasks with peak energy times. When I was younger, I've always read. I read for an hour every single day. I read books. And when I was younger, I always did that in the evening hours. And now I know that that is no longer possible for me because I'll simply fall asleep. I'm so exhausted by the end of a day that I can't read in the evenings anymore. So I make that an early morning thing that I do. When my energy is higher, I know that I can read. When my energy is higher, I can go for a run for 4 or 5 miles. Energy map your week so that you can align the things that you love to do, the creative tasks, with your peak energy time. And think about the micro moments throughout your day. The power isn't just in the big hours that you spend doing things, in the little margins that you have between throughout your day. Protect that space. Do something good with it. Maybe it's meditating or reading, but you can do 5-minute resets throughout your day. Use these tiny short windows to reset, to breathe, to stretch, to journal, to read. Those small, tiny moments can shift your big days. So, how do we slow down time? Be present. So, instead of multitasking everything, just be present for the one thing you're doing. Embrace new experiences. Novelty creates richer, longer feeling memories. Break routine. Routine compresses time, but variety expands it. Pay attention to your senses. The more you notice, the more that time seems to stretch. If you're going for a walk, instead of listening to music or a book, just shut everything off and notice the smells, feel the wind in the air, pay attention to the butterflies. And you'll begin to notice that time does seem to stretch. And then when you have to do the hard things, do them with intention, realizing that the beauty of those hard things is that time slows when the effort that you put in is meaningful. And then think of the legacy time. Invest in things where your meaning multiplies. What outlives you is the truest proof of how you spent your time. How you are remembered after you are gone is the proof of how you spent your time. Create something that echoes. The trouble is, you think that you have time. Our final quote today from Jack Cornfield. As always, you can get our past Quantum Sparks classes at layerrealty.com/Quantum Sparks. As well, I always put the slides there. So if you want to download the slides or review them, you can see them there. As well, if you ever have anything you'd like us to cover, you can go to layerrealty.com/ask anything. Until next Monday, thanks everyone. Have a great week.